Okay, so yesterday in Thailand, Nawaphon Chokchai managed to successfully defend his WBC Asian Boxing Council flyweight title against Heri Amol, and that basically makes him now the mandatory challenger to Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, as per the WBC. They named him the mandatory. Roman Gonzalez was on track to possibly fight Giovanni Segura before a lot of fans and pundits made it known that they weren't really clamoring for that type of a fight, especially since Segura hadn't really shown to be a top level contender the last couple of years, particularly in losing to Edgar Sosa by decision. Of course, Edgar Sosa being a victim of a second round knockout by Roman Gonzalez, and also in Segura's own recent loss last year by knockout to Juan Francisco Estrada, who is, of course, Roman Gonzalez's chief rival at the moment. Estrada pretty much put it on Segura, man. Segura probably didn't win a second of that fight. Estrada went right out and like beat down Segura, and Estrada's known for being more of a technical fighter, more of a Marquez-esque counterpunching, a combination counterpunching type of fighter. But he went out there and took the play right away from Segura. And Segura was the guy that was always known, particularly in his prime, as like the reckless aggressor, the almost like Antonio Margarito style, just pressure bust pipes type of fighter. But since since he moved up to flyweight and the last couple of years, he just seems to not have the same overall stamina, the same endurance, the same level of pressure, power, strength that was able to defeat pretty high level foes like Ivan Calderon before. So Gonzalez wasn't really going to be a great fight for Segura, or vice versa is really the way I should put it. But Nawaphon Chokchai, yeah, from what I've seen of him, with in this fight and actually in a couple of his other fights that I've seen of his, particularly when the one before this one against Paulos Baranzano, he showed himself to be a pretty good counterpuncher. He has a good jab. He throws the jab to the body a lot, almost a little bit like Floyd Mayweather. He likes to fight off the back foot a little bit. I think largely because he's a bit tall for the weight. He looks like he's about 5'5" and a half or 5'6". He doesn't have a listed height on BoxRec, but I'm just grasping that from comparing him to Baranzano, who's listed at 5'4" and a half. He looks like he's about an inch taller than Baranzano, and also compared to Heri Amol. And Heri Amol is supposed to be, I believe about 5'2". I think that might be a little bit exaggerated though. On BoxRec they have him at 5'4", but he ain't no damn 5'4". If anything, he's 5'2" or 5'1". He's a short guy, and Chokchai towered over the guy, man. Chokchai looked like a giant in there against him, and he pretty much played a tall fighter's game in there with Eddie Amol. He pretty much dominated the fight. Um, Shot the jab out. Used kind of a pawing jab at times, and then also shot it out as a sharp jab to keep Eddie Amol guessing. And Chokchai also used a lot of like he would lead with the jab and then follow up with a right hook to the body. Those right hooks to the body had Heri Amol like flinching almost every time, like right or wincing right after he would get hit with him, almost every time. And he was starting to break Amol down enough so that in the fourth round, Chokchai pretty much stood toe to toe with Amol and tried to let Amol get off, and basically try to counter him in the middle of Eddie Amol's flurries. Eddie Amol was flurrying at him, and Chokchai was just trying to catch him in the middle of flurries to finish him. It didn't quite work out for him though. Amol managed to rally a little bit in that fourth round because he was hyped, but it seemed like he kind of blew his gas tank in that fourth round, because in the fifth round he was back to being tired and being at the end of Chokchai's jab and jab right hand all over again. Chokchai started landing the right hand with a little bit more authority, and then in the sixth round he closed the distance again because he felt like he could finish Amol, and he wound up finishing him right there with a series of left hooks that he started throwing. He started really like leaning into the left hook and trying to catch Amol throwing his own hooks. He would counter Amol's hooks with his own hooks, and he eventually managed to land a series of them and pretty much send Amol down to a knee. And Amol looked pretty dizzy, and he looked like he definitely wasn't ready to continue by the time the ref was counted up to 8-9. And Amol pretty much, I guess you could say he gave up But also just the look on his face. He had that look like he hadn't recovered from the hooks. Like he wasn't like the next shot that Chokchai would have landed would have put him on his ass all over again, and he wouldn't have been in any condition to continue after that. But it was a good one for Chokchai, and incidentally, I think Chokchai's style is actually the perfect warm up for Chocolatito as long as he wins anyway. To get ready for somebody like a Naoya Inoue because Chokchai fights very similarly to Inoue. At least probably a little bit of a more defensive version of Inoue. Inoue tends to be a little bit more open on the offense because he believes in his power. Chokchai doesn't necessarily have the lights out power that Inoue has, but he has pretty heavy hands of his own. He's been knocking out guys that are pretty tough opponents. Amol's normally a pretty durable guy, and he pretty much had his way with him and was hurting him as early as the second round. He just kind of took his time and took him apart, as opposed to going in for the KO and risking getting caught himself. So I mean, I believe Chokchai is definitely a good challenger for Gonzalez, especially because he brings a different kind of dynamic, especially for the American audiences, because get a chance to see Roman Gonzalez fight against a guy that's physically taller than him. Physically. At least, I'm not sure if he's necessarily going to be heavier than Gonzalez. They're probably about the same weight, but he just looks bigger. He's a taller guy. He has broader shoulders. He has a longer reach. So it'll show how Gonzalez is able to deal with a bit more of a slick, defensive type boxer who likes to pot shot and counterpunch, as opposed to a guy that's like maybe a little bit more of a slugger like Valoria, or I shouldn't say a slugger, but Akira Yagashi is probably a bit more of a slugger. Valoria is like more of a straight out puncher. He's a boxer puncher. Edgar Sosa was a bit of a defensive counter punching slick guy, but he didn't necessarily have the same height and reach dynamic that Chokchai does, and he was also on the older side and a little bit past it himself. Chokchai's an undefeated challenger, ready to step up to take his title shot, and I think it'll be a good fight between these two. I'm gonna link both Chokchai's recent fight, the one that happened yesterday against Heri Amol, as well as his fight against Paulos Baranzano, which was his previous fight that happened back, I believe it was late last year, I think November. And just check them out, enjoy them. They're both pretty short fights, about 20 minutes each. And let me know what you think, and hopefully Chokchai brings a similar dynamic to Gonzalez, and we get probably one of the more interesting fights that Chocolatito will have faced in the last couple of years now. Because the run he's been on has been pretty damn impressive. He's been blowing out guys that are normally, like guys that themselves are, world champion level, elite level fighters. So maybe we get a chance to see him tested a little bit more. At least more so than he has been since he first fought Estrada. And hopefully HBO also starts bringing Estrada and Inoue over against some of these guys too. So that's it for this one. I'm outie.